Hey guys, welcome back to the Joe Jaguar Show, your best friend in science, astronomy, and telescopes. Well, I hope at least one of them. In the last several months, we have talked about, ED, refractors, apochromatic refractors, and acromats. We've tested some side by side and talked about them. So this video, let's talk about two questions. Would I still buy an acro or an acromat now these days? Or would I also recommend for you guys to buy an acromat over an ED? So let's get to it. This video is going to be between an 80 millimeter, 90 millimeter, 100 and 102. Those are probably where the most people buy refractors, let's say. And especially if you're talking about acromats, most of the people are going to buy in that range. So let's start at like the medium size range. Okay, so first I'll post them up here, but I have a list on my hand type of thing. So for instance, Celestron sells the Inspire 100 AZ, that's complete. And that's 500 Canadian. Again, I'm going to talk about Canadian prices since I live in Canada. And of course, for you American friends, you can do it by your exchange rate in UK, wherever you're located, just do it by the exchange rate. Celestron also has the slightly lower model called the 90 millimeter, a little bit smaller as well. Astromaster on an EQ2. For 486 Canadian dollars before tax. Okay, now Explorer Scientific has a 4-inch refractor on an EQ3, what they call, for $557 Canadian before tax. So now let's talk about ED, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about the SV Bony line. A few of you have asked me on that because the SV Bony line is actually like a lower entry ED while giving you a good product for a good price. So they're not high end, but so let's talk about in comparisons. So for instance, the SV Bony in Canada, the 503, which is the 102 millimeter ED, just the OTA, of course that's with the rings, and 199 Canadian before tax. Now just to compare, the first one was the Celestron Inspire 100 AZ. That comes with a tripod and AZ2 type of mount with slow motion controls for 500. So they are the same size. Of course, we're talking about an acromat and an ED. $300 more for the same size, and then you got to get your own tripod. Now the 80 millimeter SV Bony is 521 Canadian before tax. So that is probably a little cheaper. Now SV Bony does still have a 90 millimeter acromat, and I believe it's f5.5, and that's 345 Canadian before tax, which is kind of like a medium range. Now this is also a version that has a sliding dew cap. Most refractors, acromats, okay, let's talk about first step, between the 80 millimeter and the 102 millimeter, most of them, if you want a good quality, image type of thing, you're probably looking at least f8, f10, which is not too longish, but normally those come with your basic 1.25" focus. So, sometimes they're plastic, let me get my 102 short tube, and I'll show you what kind of focuser for you to expect, and then what you're going to get if you go something a little bit better. Okay, so here's my short tube 102. Now as you can see, this has a 2-inch focuser and with an 1.25" adapter, but this is the kind that you get most likely when you're talking about the 1.25". When you're talking about acromats in general. It might not be 2 inches, might be 1.25". Maybe the 100, 102 version might be like this, a 2-inch version, but still it's kind of like a simplistic, an older generation focuser. Okay, so the SV Bony 90mm acromat, which is 5.5, so that's kind of short. So again, that's a very specialized telescope because it's made for wide field, low power views. On the planets, it's not going to be so much, but build quality is probably better than your average 90mm refractor. It comes with a sliding dew cap, and it comes with a dual speed focuser. On the 90mm Achromat, it is not the same as the 80 and 102mm ED focusers. They're kind of similar, but they're not made to the same degree. So from what I hear, the micro focus is good, but the larger focus has a little bit of slop, or it's not as smooth. So what do I think? What I recommended, so couple things I would say. I do, as you know, have this is my only Achromat that I have right now. Would I buy another Achromat? I'm probably going to say probably not. No, if I would personally buy an Achromat these days, especially in this size or even bigger, just because I've had them for 30 years, and probably about 7-8 years ago, maybe a little bit more, once I switched over to ED, to me, I don't think there's any point going back, just because with an ED, you can produce a better image quality, much better color correction than an Achromat, and the size is going to could be 25 to 33% shorter. So it's kind of like you're getting everything. Plus, most ED, if not all now, will give you a much better focus. Now, sometimes a focuser can cost, a bit. The Cinta GSO dual speed Crayfords. Now I know those people used to buy them a lot, but even buying something basic like that in Canada, you're looking at about $200 before tax. So it's not cheap. So if you're looking at some of the prices that I said at the beginning, the $486 to $500, if you ever upgrade to a dual speed, even an entry one, Crayford, you're looking at least another $200 on top. I think personally, I would buy just an ED. You're going to have a better image. It's going to be sharper. It's going to have less fringing. And because there's less fringing, all the light waves are going to merge. And so you're going to get a better image overall. The build quality is better. The focus, you don't have to upgrade in most cases. They have sliding dew caps, which makes it more portable. So my personal opinion is I would prefer, if I was going to get something between an 80mm and 100mm, and if I wanted a doublet, I probably would consider the SV Bony 80 or 102 ED. They have the 122 triplet, but there's also the Ascar has a 103, which if you want a triplet, of course, we're slowly talking about more money. Second thing is, would I recommend it to you guys? Now, again, if you guys are on a tight budget and you're looking at the 80mm, of course you want to complete, and this is your first telescope, of course you want to complete with a tripod mount, slow motion controls, and eyepieces. If you go 80mm, you're looking at around the $400 range type of thing. If you go to 90mm and 100mm, that'll probably be about the $500 and slightly more complete. So it's not super expensive, but for some people that might be everything they want to spend, because they might not know if they want to stick in this hobby or even try it out, and they don't want to spend a lot. So that might be their limit. So if that's their limit, they're not going to be able to really afford an ED unless it's a 70 or 80mm maximum, then with a tripod or a mount and that type of thing. So if your budget is 400 or maybe 500 maximum, then sure, go maybe 80mm to 100mm. If you could afford a little bit more, like the 100mm, you're getting something a little bit bigger. You'll see a little bit more. It's going to be a little bit brighter too. So if you can go for the 100mm Achromat, and if it's an f8, f10, you should be fine. And if that's your maximum budget, 400 to 500. If you have a bigger budget, then I would say go for the 102 ED. Something, doesn't have to be the SV Bony, but something similar to that, where you're getting an overall better, you're already getting a good focus on that, you're getting a sliding dew cap, the quality is pretty good. Even though it's a double-edge 51, it's still going to be like 75% less color than your Achromat. That's the other thing. If you don't like false color, then just go ED. Of course, you need a tripod and a mount, but besides that, I think you'll be better off. But again, there's no right, there's no wrong. It's whatever you think suits your needs the most. I can still say I would recommend it for brand new people. If you have a certain budget between the $300 and $500 range, then sure, I could see getting an Achromat between the 80 millimeter, 102 millimeter, as long as it's a long focus for the planets. If you want a more wide field, then short tube can work for you. And that's my conclusion. Hopefully that helps you guys out. And that's it. If you guys are on the forums and maybe someone's asked about a video like that, please share my link. And if you guys want to join the members, once a month I put a video strictly for the members. It does not go on the public format. They do pay 99 cents to see it, and that's the benefit they get. It also helps the channel grow because it takes a lot of time and energy and money to buy products to show you guys sometimes. And so if you'd like to join the members, that would be great. Anyway, guys, why not you? Why not me?